Charles Ponzi. His name has become synonymous with financial fraud. We'll be taking a closer look at how Ponzi scammed the world with his infamous scheme. Charles Ponzi was an Italian-American businessman who came up with a scheme that promised high returns on investments in a short period of time. He claimed to be able to buy international reply coupons at a low price and redeem them for a higher value. He attracted investors by offering them a 50% return on their investment within 45 days or a 100% return within 90 days. Nowadays, his scam could obviously be caught on to, but back then, there never existed a thing similar to the Ponzi scheme or anything that significant that the people knew about. And Ponzi's scheme was not based on any real business or investment. Instead, he used the money from new investors to pay the returns to earlier investors. He also used some of the money for his own personal expenses. He was able to keep the scheme going for a while by constantly finding new investors to put money into the scheme. Hearing from the earlier investors that got their returns, Ponzi's scheme attracted a lot of attention and many people were eager to invest their money in his scheme. He promised high returns in a short period of time, as we've mentioned before, and many people believed that they could try to get rich quick by investing in the scheme, not knowing how he was getting the money back or how they would get the returns. But they believed that this would work, and Ponzi's scheme was able to attract a lot of money from investors at its peak. The scheme had estimated to take around $20 million from investors from the so-called peak. Now, this might sound like it was a perfect time for Charles Ponzi, but as we know now, a Ponzi scheme is not sustainable, and Ponzi's scheme was not sustainable. It eventually collapsed in 1920. The Boston Post newspaper began to investigate Ponzi's scheme and published an article exposing the fraud. People started to realize that Ponzi was not making any real investments and was simply using the money to pay returns to earlier investors that he got from the new investors. Ponzi was arrested and charged with mail fraud. He was sentenced to prison and he died in poverty in 1949. His scheme ruined the lives of many people who invested their savings into his schemes. Many people lost their life savings and were left in financial ruin. The scheme became synonymous with financial fraud, and the term Ponzi scheme is used to describe any fraudulent investment scheme that pays return to existing investors from funds contributed by new investors, rather than from profit earned. Nowadays, this can be seen in rug pull cryptocurrencies, where investors that had invested earlier are seen to be making a profit from the money coming in from new investors. Ponzi's scheme was one of the most spectacular financial frauds in history. It serves as a reminder of the importance of being cautious and skeptical on investment opportunities that promise high returns with little risks. It's also important to always do your own research and due diligence before investing any money, and never let greed cloud your judgment. It's also important to remember that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe